Straight ahead on Law&Crime Daily.
He said, the only problem is I've watched a lot of soap operas and I've seen actors before.
He regrets what he did. And he's paying a price for it. He's paying a price for it today.
Opening statements from both sides in the Alex Jones defamation trial. And basketball star Brittney Griner takes the stand in her own defense against drug charges in Russia. Plus,
when I seen the armed men come in, it was specifically for me.
A Sunday service interrupted when masked gunmen rob a bishop and his wife. And later, the Parkland school shooter's disturbing internet search history.
I'm going to be a professional school shooter.
Law&Crime Daily covering court cases from coast to coast. Welcome everyone to Law&Crime Daily. I'm your host, Brian Buckmeyer. In Texas, opening statements are presented in the civil trial involving Alex Jones, years after the InfoWars host made comments calling the Sandy Hook school shooting a hoax. In December of 2012, a gunman killed 20 first-grade students and 6 staff members at the Connecticut school. After the shooting, Jones told his audience it was fake and that it was staged with actors from the government in order to push gun control measures. The families of 8 victims and an FBI agent who responded to the school have filed lawsuits against Jones, saying they've been harassed and received death threats from his followers. An Austin jury will hear the case and determine what Jones will pay in damages to those who filed the suits. The beginning of the trial comes after months of delays and after courts in both Texas and Connecticut have already found Jones liable for defamation following Jones ignoring several court orders. Damages have yet to be awarded in the Connecticut cases. Jones has since said he believes the shooting did happen, but claims he had a right to say that it didn't. In opening statements on Tuesday, the attorney for the plaintiffs argued Jones's lies caused harm to the victims' families.
I first want to talk to you about 2 rules. Here's the first rule. You can't recklessly tell lies about someone. You can't do it. If you do it and you cause someone damage, you're responsible. This is the second rule. You can't recklessly tell lies about something important to someone. In this case, like the death of their child. If you do that, you know you're going to cause them harm. You're responsible for that. You're here because those rules are broken. And they were broken in a way in which the world has never seen before. This man knew that the parents of murdered children were emotionally distressed, outraged, grieving. And he looked straight into that camera and he said, the only problem is I've watched a lot of soap operas and I've seen actors before. And I know when I'm watching a movie and I know when I'm watching something real.
Jones' defense attorney presented their opening statement saying his client has already been punished.
Because of this case, he lost all his access to the internet. Millions of dollars. Canceled. He regrets what he did. And he's paying a price for it. He's paying a price for it today. He pays a price for it every time somebody on the street chases him and says, you killed the children at Sandy Hook. Is this an honest attempt by personal injury lawyers to get just compensation? Or is this a cynical attempt by personal injury lawyers to enrich themselves while silencing a political opponent and limiting every American's right to choose what they watch and what they listen to?
Joining us today is criminal defense attorney Mike Korobonics and co-host Terry Austin. Mike, I get it. Not having something to say for your opening happens to a lot of defense attorneys. But does telling the jury how much your client lost when the opposing side are grieving families of a mass shooter sound smart to you?
That opening was disturbing, quite frankly, Brian, because there are times we have nothing to work with. But in that opening, this attorney at one point in time is saying he's paid his dues, yet he still gets back to the political aspects of it, and that this is trying to to quash someone's First Amendment right, and that he suffered enough because of the money he lost when people lost children. That was a disturbing opening, quite frankly, Brian, not so much from the money aspect of it, but the fact that he really was apologizing, it seemed, but he wasn't, because he basically said that they're trying to punish him because he has a right to say what he wants, regardless of the harm he caused. I don't think that helped at all, and I think it's going to be damaging in the punitive damage stage, because I think it may really stir the jury's emotion as to him not accepting any responsibility for the words he used and the hurt he caused.
Now, Terry, I know our guests can't see you, but you're nodding your head there. So let's talk about damages. How are they going to be decided, and how will that play out in the witnesses we expect to see in this case?
Well, as you know, in a defamation case, you get both compensatory and punitive damages. We saw that in the Depp Heard trial. And here we're seeing that the attorney is actually asking for a specific amount. He asked for $150 million. The way he calculated it was a little bit strange, if you ask me. He said $1 for each of the 75 million people who believe the false information, and then 75 million to compensate the parents. I think he should have just said 150, compensate the parents. We'll see what happens as far as the jury's concerned, though.
And that's creative math, though. We'll see how the jury, like you said, thinks about that dollar for every follower, so to speak. Well, also in Texas, a Dallas jury orders Spectrum to pay $7 billion in damages after a customer was murdered by a field technician. Jurors found Charter Communications, which also operates as Spectrum, had systemic safety failures. They say Charter acted negligently when hiring 43-year-old Roy Holden Jr. In December of 2019, Holden was arrested for the murder of 83-year-old Betty Thomas, a customer who had issues with her phone line. After helping with her technical issue, investigators say Holden returned to Thomas's home the next day and stabbed her with a utility knife supplied by Spectrum. Attorneys for Thomas's family say Charter got rid of an employee screening program and hired Holden without verifying his work history. They also say Spectrum ignored warning signs, including that Holden broke down during a meeting and told a supervisor he was not okay. Charter was also ordered to pay 90% of the $375 million of compensatory damages to Thomas's family. Still ahead on Law and Crime Daily, a Sunday church live stream catches a robbery on camera. But first, basketball star Brittney Griner takes the stand amidst her Russian drug trial. Welcome back. In news on the other side of the world, the Biden administration has offered a convicted Russian arms dealer in exchange for WNBA player Brittney Griner, just after she took the stand in her drug smuggling case. The move comes less than 3 weeks after Griner pled guilty to drug charges after being caught carrying vape canisters with cannabis oil while at the Moscow airport in February. Her attorneys previously presented a letter from a U.S. doctor recommending Griner use medical cannabis to treat pain. While cannabis is illegal in Russia, testimony has focused on it being regarded in other countries as being for medical use. On Wednesday, Griner testified that her rights were not read to her when she was arrested and said after inspectors found the cartridges, she was instructed to sign documents not knowing what they meant and tried to use Google Translate to understand them. Griner told the court once again that she did not intentionally bring the drug into the country. CNN reported Wednesday the president has offered up a Russian man serving a 25-year prison sentence as part of a potential exchange deal for Griner and Paul Whelan, a U.S. man who's been held for alleged espionage since 2018. If the deal isn't accepted, Griner could face 10 years behind bars. Terry, is the fact that there may have been a language barrier in Griner's arrest going to help her clarify these charges in a way that could reduce her sentence or even get her home sooner?
You know, I think it will help. Every little bit of information is going to help to mitigate this sentence. She's already pleaded guilty, and what she's trying to do now is evoke some sympathy. So she basically explained this was medical use and it wasn't intentional. She was packing. She didn't mean to pack it. And I think saying that she didn't understand the language and she wasn't read her rights, it makes the court think, okay, maybe she didn't understand what was going on. I don't know if at the end of the day it's going to help. Hopefully the deal that we are seeing is in the making will help. But at the end of the day, I think she's doing her best to evoke some sympathy from that court.
Yeah. Now, Mike, Terry's right. Griner had pled guilty, but it's a little different than in the States. The case is still going forward in this guilt or innocent phase, but the way it's progressing looks more like a sentencing hearing where they're trying to mitigate after pleading guilty. So how does that look so far? Is what she testifying to mitigating her guilt?
You know, this is such an unusual case because in any place, you usually get it. Even when marijuana was illegal in states here, you got a ticket and moved on. I really hate to say this, but it looks like that this is all just a show for them to decide what they're going to do politically. And quite frankly, justice or rights have nothing to do with it. They're using her to sort of get some sort of position to make their country get what they want from the United States. So I really think this is just a show, and our opinions on justice really have no bearing because it's not really going to happen. Because how could she be sitting this long incarcerated if anybody was paying attention to what the law states and people's rights?
Absolutely. And Russia's looking to get Victor Bout, a Russian arms dealer. Makes sense considering the climate we're in right now. Well, thanks for the input, both of you. Coming up on Law and Crime Daily, a complete recap of day 8 in the Parkland school shooter penalty phase trial. Plus, a Brooklyn bishop known for his flashy jewelry and clothes is robbed at gunpoint, all while delivering a sermon. Welcome back. A flashy Brooklyn bishop is robbed mid-sermon as a live stream video catches it all on camera. Law and Crime Network Sierra Gillespie has the story.
Yo. All right. Yo, all right.
More than $1 million worth of jewelry stolen, all while a renowned Brooklyn bishop presented his Sunday sermon.
They took all of my wife's jewelry and took all of my jewelry, and then they left. However, these young men didn't know that cameras were on.
The Leaders of Tomorrow International Ministries live streams its services, and last Sunday was no different. As Bishop Lamore Miller Whitehead addressed his congregation, a group of masked gunmen interrupted.
Everybody stay still. Nobody move. Nobody move.
Whitehead detailed the incident on Instagram Live, captioning the video, "Yes, they robbed me in my church."
And when I seen the armed men come in, you know, it was specifically for me. And of course my wife. And when I seen them come into the sanctuary with their guns, I told everybody, get out. Everybody just get out.
Whitehead says 3 people armed and wearing all black interrupted the Sunday sermon. He says one of the suspects pointed a gun at his 8-month-old daughter's face. At the same time, all of his wife's jewelry was taken. After that, his jewelry was also stolen.
Come on, hustle.
Whitehead said he chased the suspects out of the church, where they hopped into a white Mercedes-Benz vehicle. At the time, about 25 congregants were present. Whitehead now says churchgoers are traumatized.
Right, everybody get out. I didn't know if they wanted to shoot the church up or if they were just coming for a robbery.
The bishop, known for wearing designer outfits and flashy jewelry, says he and his family were specifically targeted.
You know, sometimes, you know, when you are a known bishop, you know, it's a gift and a curse. When you have somewhat of a celebrity status, it is a gift and a curse. You know, you become the talk of the town.
The New York Police Department received a report on the incident and says the investigation is still ongoing. Reporting for Law&Crime Network, I'm Sierra Gillespie.
Terry, what was your reaction when you first heard and even saw this story?
Well, the first thing I thought was, look, obviously it's not a good thing when someone robs a church, but I did think to myself that a minister wouldn't be or shouldn't be wearing so much gaudy jewelry that would attract someone. He's there every day. He's preaching to the congregation. And generally speaking, you don't flout that wealth when you are supposedly preaching. You're supposed to be modest. You're supposed to be unassuming. Listen, that's no excuse. This robbery should not have occurred. but I did think it was a little odd that he knew he was somewhat flashy and he continued to act in that way. Obviously, we should, please, I hope we catch these individuals and it never happens again. But that was the first thing that came to my mind, Brian.
That's interesting. The Catholic schoolboy and the lawyer's like, on a Sunday? Why would you do this on a Sunday of all days? He's live streaming. But that's besides the point. Mike, no arrests as of yet, but based on the facts, what charges are you seeing and how much time could these men face?
They could be facing a significant amount of time because it's an armed robbery. They obviously, it's on video that they had in their possession guns. And this also was, they entered a public place where there are many people. So these are all also aggravating factors. I think, though, if he would just wear a bow tie, he wouldn't need $1 million worth of jewelry.
Well played, Mike. Well played. Of course, I think he's actually putting out an offer for more information about those who robbed him. So, of course, look into that. And if you do have information on the Brooklyn bishop being robbed, make sure to contact your local authority. Well, when we come back, the Parkland school shooter penalty phase trial. What investigators found in the gunman's Google and YouTube search history. Welcome back to Law&Crime Daily. As the Parkland school shooter trial reaches day 8, the defendant's actions post-arrest are brought to light. Right now, a Broward County jury is tasked with determining the fate of the Parkland school shooter. Because the shooter pled guilty in October of last year, his only possible sentences are life in prison or the death penalty. The charges stem from the February 14, 2018 shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. 17 people were killed and 17 more injured when the then 19-year-old gunman opened fire. On Wednesday, jurors were shown surveillance video of the gunman's attack on a jail guard that happened just 8 months after the shooting massacre.
Once he's going for my taser, I immediately had to get my taser back. He's going for it right there with his right hand. He also grabs with his left. You can see he's trying to press the button. Right there, he has the taser in his right hand. At this point, I have to get the taser back.
Why?
He could tase me, he can incapacitate me, and he can basically do whatever he wants to me. Also, if he hits me with it, it's a blunt object, he can hurt me. So, all I was thinking right there was get my taser back. The only way the taser goes off is if you press the trigger. Okay. At this point where we're fighting for the taser, I can't tell you if I press the trigger or if Mr. Cruz pressed the trigger. But the taser deployed.
Later, parents of the victims had an emotional response when the shooter's internet history was read aloud.
I hide it deep within and think about killing people. September 18th, 2017 at 12:42 and 43 seconds a.m. UTC. The last part makes me scared what happens when I have no one. I am 18, still in high school, and everyone is on their way to college while I am there thinking about killing people and ending their lives. I hate my life, and I want to take people with me. September 22, 2017, at 4:21:45 seconds a.m. UTC. I hate humans. September 24th, 2017, 11:49 and 1 second p.m. UTC. I'm going to be a professional school shooter.
Mike, it's not about the murder. I'm going back to the video that we saw of him fighting the guard, but it's pretty bad for the sentencing when determining his life or death. My question for you, though, in this video, could there be a possible appeal because it's something almost separate from the mass shooting itself?
Yes, it could be. And although there are, quite frankly, there's much less burdens of proof in the sentencing phase as opposed to a trial phase. However, it will contribute to showing perhaps that he's got no likelihood of rehabilitation. However, I just think the proofs are so strong in this case that maybe it wasn't worth making an appellate issue by showing that. But I don't see how they would win on appeal, the defense, because I do think it goes to rehabilitation and to showing there's a lack of it.
Yeah. The one point I was raising, it could just add to how long this saga continues, even if he is sentenced to life without the death penalty or the death penalty, if you add potential appellate issues there. Well, Terry, the shooter's comment made it clear that he has some mental health issues. What more can be done from a legal perspective, though, in this case?
You know, one of the things I think we need to do, there are many things we need to do. Ban assault weapons is one of them. But I think in the case of someone who has mental illness and who has demonstrated that, we do need red flag laws that work. Oftentimes, these laws don't work because they are not enforced. It allows family members or law enforcement or even someone selling a gun to keep someone from buying or possessing that gun if they think that person might be in crisis or might have a mental health issue. The gun can even be taken away if the person has the possession of a gun. So I think it's something that we need to make sure we're enforcing. And it does exist. These red flag laws exist in 19 different states, including, California, New York, Florida, where this shooting occurred. And if we had people who enforced it more, we might have less shootings.
Yeah, well, here's to that. Well, thank you, Mike and Terry, and thank you for joining us here on Law and Crime Daily. We'll see you next time as we discuss justice in America.